Hey, what's up YouTube? This is the Mermail Master and welcome back to another casual deck profile. For today's deck profile, we're going to be taking a look at a water deck. Now, the casual deck profiles which we've recorded are basically deck profiles of decks that you can take into a locals and play against maybe like a little kid or like a player who's new to the game. So we're not talking about just like casual for fun but slightly competitive. We're talking about like a nice hyper casual deck that can really make a couple of plays that your opponent won't see coming. So in order to start this deck profile, I'm going to explain a little bit about the deck. This is a water deck that focuses around the legendary ocean, and it's a really cool and fun strategy that you'll be able to use to better yourself and to have a lot of fun. So I'll explain a little bit about the deck as we go forward. So to start with the deck, I'm running 3 copies of a Warrior of Atlantis. Now, Warrior of Atlantis is a fantastic card because it's a discard card, so you can discard it to grab a legendary ocean straight from your deck to your hand, which is awesome. And he's also a 1900 beater, and if you already have a legendary ocean in your hand, he goes up to 2100 without pretty much anything. Next is 3 copies of CODARUS. Now, I don't think anyone has seen this card, or if you have, maybe you haven't seen it in a while, but CODARUS is honestly the best card in this entire deck. Its effect states that basically what you get to do is send 1 face-up Umi you control to the graveyard, and as you'll learn, there's a lot of cards that count as Umi, to target up to 2 cards your opponent controls, and then not destroy them, but send them to the graveyard. So it just is non-destruction, which, many cards get their effects when they're destroyed and sent to the graveyard. CODARUS prevents that from happening by just simply sending them to the graveyard, and he's a normal summonable monster who can really get a lot of use out of the Yumi. Next, we're running 2 copies of Screech. Screech is a great card for getting water monsters that you want into your graveyard. When he's destroyed by battle, you just basically send 2 water monsters from your deck to the graveyard, which is kind of like a great foolish burial thing. And you can use it proactively as well if you want to attack into things. He's a reptile, so he is searchable out of the deck. 2 copies of Abyss Warrior. His effect, he's an 1800 beater that goes up to 2000, but his effect is that you can discard a water monster from your hand to the graveyard to target 1 monster in either player's graveyard and return it to the top of the deck. So a great play that you like to do is, have Screech send 2 to the graveyard and then Abyss Warrior it to get that monster back to the top of your deck where it belongs. So very awesome card. Next is 2 copies of the first big boss monster of the deck, and that is Levia Dragon DAEDALUS. DAEDALUS is an awesome monster who basically allows you to send 1 Yumi on your field to the graveyard to destroy all other cards on the field. Non-targeting destruction is fantastic, and just blowing up an entire field filled with monsters, is just one of the most satisfying feeling out there. You just blow everything away and then swing in for 2600. So yeah, a very good card. It also doesn't count things in your hand, so you can just, go off with a big play after that. Next is 1 copy of Ocean Dragon Lord DAEDALUS. And DAEDALUS, this is actually the first printing of the card. The second printing requires you to sacrifice 1 Levia Dragon DAEDALUS on your side of the field in order to summon this thing. But once it gets to the field, this thing is the one that you send it to the graveyard, and it sends all cards on the field and in both players' hands to the graveyard. So definitely a very kind of cool thing to bring people, you send the entirety of everyone's hands to the graveyard, and then, your opponent is top decking against a 2900 beater, and that's never really too good for them. 1 copy of Poseidra, the Atlantean Dragon. This is a really great card, 2800 beater, and goes up to 3000 under the Legendary Ocean, but he's just a really kind of cool card. He's a new sort of indirect support for this water deck, and there's a lot of really easy and interesting ways to get him out on the field. If you have a Deep Sea Diva, you can basically bring Poseidra out from your deck thanks to another card in the deck. And I'm going to explain that combo actually right now. So, with Poseidra over there, the two cards is you got to have that one Deep Sea Diva for that effect, because it can special summon any level 3 Sea Serpent from your deck, or any level 3 or lower Sea Serpent type monster from your deck. Before, you used to be able to use Deep Sea Diva to special summon itself, which was a cool kind of play you could make. And then this is the card right here, Legendary Atlantean Tridon. He's a Sea Serpent monster. You can special summon him out with Deep Sea Diva, go into a level 5 Synchro monster, or you can tribute this card and one Sea Serpent type monster you control to special summon one of the Poseidra directly from your deck. And then all monsters your opponent controls lose 300 attack power. So basically decreasing the threshold of your opponent's monsters in a non-targeting way, and using Deep Sea Diva as just basically a way to pull Poseidra out of your deck and just have a big 2,800 beater to 3,000 beater out on the field. So super good kind of little card suite right there to make the deck move forward. Next, now for some of the one-ofs of the deck, we're running one copy of Snowman Eater. Snowman Eater is pretty self-explanatory. He's like a better man-eater bug. When he's flipped face up, target one face-up monster on the field and automatically destroy that target. And he's got a big beefy 1900 defense power as well. One copy of Deep Sea Diver. This card has sort of fallen out of favor as of recently, but it's a very good card at the end of the battle phase. If it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can choose one monster from your deck and place that card on the top of the deck, and that's any monster that you want. So he basically, at the price of your draw, and he basically digs for anything you want. But think about it this way, do you just want the chance of drawing that monster, or do you actually want to draw that monster, like the main play that you need to make? One copy of Armed Sea Hunter. Basically, you can negate the effects of any monster that battle with this card as long as you control another face-up water monster. And then if this card would be destroyed, you can also destroy one face-up level 3 or lower water monster you control instead. So kind of a cool card. Not many people have given it much attention, but I still think it's kind of a fun thing to include in the deck. One Deep Sweeper, basically like targeted spell and trap destruction. You contribute it to destroy a spell or trap card on the field, which is super good. One copy of Lost Blue Breaker is mostly the same thing. If there's another face-up fish, sea serpent, or aqua type monster, you contribute it to destroy one spell or trap card on the field. And so it's kind of like the same as that, but the main difference is you can actually pull this out with Diva as well. So if you have a play that you want, you can summon Diva, pull out Lost Blue Breaker, and then Lost Blue Breaker will pop a spell or trap. So if you're facing down like an anti-spell fragrance or something like that, and you need to make some plays, Lost Blue Breaker will get rid of that anti-spell fragrance, and it's kind of like pulling an MST directly from your deck. One Spine Gilman. You'd be surprised how good this card is. Something that can also be summoned by Deep Sea Diva, and gains all fish, sea serpent, and aqua type monsters by 400 attack power. Pair that with... You can pair Spine Gilman with Deep Sea Diva, as well as any of the other cards that you have, to create a massive field of monsters. So you get it out with Deep Sea Diva, it boosts everything up by 400 attack, and then if you have a Legendary Ocean out, that's another 200 attack power that all your other water monsters receive, which means that your Spine Gilman can go up to 1900, and any of the other water monsters in your field get a 600 attack boost, so things can get pretty hairy pretty quickly. And the last card I'm running for monsters is going to be one copy of Amphibious Bugroth MK3. And the reason I have this in here is because that when you control Yumi or a card designated as Yumi, you can have this card perform a direct attack. One direct attack from Amphibious Bugroth, and that's one less strike that your opponent can activate. So that's it for the monsters. Now moving on to the spells and traps. To start off for spells, we have 3 copies of a Legendary Ocean, This is one of the main cards in the deck, and you have to have the card at 3. We have 3 of this and then 3 of the Searcher, which gets it out of the deck. Legendary Ocean basically decreases all monsters, all water monsters in your hand and field by 1, and they all gain 200 attack. And its last effect allows it to be treated as Yumi. So it's I believe this is the first field spell retrain, if I recall correctly. Which sort of paves the way for like all these different other retrains which we've seen, such as like Toon Kingdom, for instance, being a retrain of Toon World. But yeah, like Legendary Ocean is a great card for like things like DAEDALUS, or for things like you know, if you have a Poseidon in hand or something like that. It allows you to much easierly get their levels down, so you can tribute summon them onto the field. Yeah, basically like using your stuff. Then we have 2 copies of Aquajet. Aquajet's basically in here as like a booster, so it allows you to boost any of the water monsters in your deck up by 1,000 attack power, which can help you get over quite a lot of things, actually. So it's really, really a cool card. Two copies of Moray of Greed. Moray of Greed is another really good card. Shuffle back your hands and stuff like that. And Mermail's actually started running this card very recently. I've actually have one of them in my new build, but it's a really, really good card for just fixing your dead hands. If you open up multiple of your high-level sea serpent / fish type monsters, and you want to just shuffle them back in your deck and see if you can get new stuff, that basically allows you to draw a fresh hand of the monsters you shuffled back +1. So it's kind of better than Magical Mallet or Reload in that sense, in that you don't really lose card economy, and you get to reshuffle your hand and draw new. One Big Wave Small Wave. Big Wave Small Wave is a big power player in the deck, letting you tribute any number of water monsters on your field to special summon an equal number of water monsters from your hand, regardless of the level. So if you have multiple, like, you know, massive beaters in your hand or something like that, you know, like a couple of Daedaluses in there, and you have 2 water monsters on your field, activate Big Wave, Small Wave, destroy the 2 water monsters on your field, and then special summon your Daedaluses and your Poseidons and stuff from hand. Really a good way to get big, like, water monsters on your field fast. I'm thinking hopefully, like, they could make like a retrain of this card that would allow you to also fetch monsters from your graveyard as well. That would be awesome. But we really have yet to see what's going to happen with this card. I hope they do something with it soon. 1 copy of Soul Exchange. Decided to put this in here just for the hell of it, and you know, maybe I'll replace this with like a copy of Stormforth or something like that, or run them in tandem. But when you have Legendary Ocean out and your Sea Serpent monsters' levels are decreased by 1, you can activate the effect of Soul Exchange and just basically get your monsters on the field very quickly by tributing your opponent's stuff. So, you know, sometimes like the deck will run into the problem where monsters get gotten rid of like very quickly, and this helps to alleviate the issue. And the final thing is 1 water hazard. And if your opponent controls no monsters, you can special summon 1 water monster, level 4 or lower, from your hand. This just lets you field a big beater, and then if you want to, like, you know, field a CODARUS or something like that, activate its effect, and then tribute it off to, like, destroy the rest of the things your opponent controls. Very cool card. That's it for the spells. Now, moving on to the traps. 2 copies of Temple of the Deep, Forgotten Temple of the Deep. This actually counts as a Yumi, and allows you to banish a level 4 lower fish or sea serpent type monster, and then during your end phase you can special summon that monster, banished by the effect. So it's kind of like Dimension Hole in a way, and lets you, you know, dodge like some plays or something. 2 copies of Abyss Strom. This is actually a very good card. A lot of people have forgotten about its usefulness, and it can actually be searched by Abyss Megalo if you want it. Abyss Strom basically allows you to send 1 Yumi you control to the graveyard and destroy, and then you send all spells and traps on the field to the graveyard. A lot of spells and traps rely on getting destroyed to get effects, such as like Metal Foe's Counter and Metal Foe's Combination. Basically, you know, sending the stuff to the graveyard just gets around all of that stuff. And not to mention, this also is a way to get around pendulum scales as well, because this will just send all your opponent's pendulum scales to the graveyard. Pendulum scales count as spell cards on the field, and if it's sent to the graveyard and not destroyed, they're not going to hit the extra deck, and they're just going to go to the graveyard. And this is something that surprised a couple of my opponents in the past, was just being able to activate an Abyss Strom and blow out an entire back row and prevent a pendulum summon. One copy of That Wacky Alchemy. You can actually use this with Abyss Strom or with some of the other destruction that you have in the deck. If a face-up spell card in your opponent's spell and trap card zone is sent to the graveyard, you can target one face-up monster on the field and destroy that target. And the funny thing about That Wacky Alchemy is that you can actually use it in response to just a normal spell card that's activated. So, you know, like your opponent activates a Lure of Darkness or something with a monster on the field. Flip up That Wacky Alchemy, destroy that monster. Your opponent really won't see it coming, and, you know, it's just a very, very good kind of surprise card that I've really liked playing with. One copy of the Monarch's Awaken. There's no cards in this extra deck. I wanted to keep the deck pretty casual, so I can run Monarch's Awaken. And basically it allows you to target a face-up tribute summon monster you control. Its effects are negated, and you make it unaffected by card effects other than this card. So, like, you can use this on either player's turn, and, you know, just activate the effect of DAEDALUS, for instance, or something like that. And then if you have, like, a Poseidra on the field that you want to keep around, you just flip up Monarch Awaken, and that monster's unaffected, and you have a 2600 and 2800 beater on board. And then the final card is one copy of Fiend's Hand Mirror, which basically redirects the targeting effects of magic cards, which is a very good thing to do. So that's it for the deck. It's 40 cards. It's a very fun, casual deck, and can actually steal many games if you let it. Fielding big monsters like that and then using big plays is a very kind of cool thing you can do to your opponent. If you like the deck profile, please feel free to give this a like. Make sure to comment and subscribe as well. And if you want to see more content just like this and more casual decks, please stick it to Team Time Riders. This has been the Mermail Master with another deck profile, and I'm signing out. See you guys.